Developed by Massive Monster and published by Devolver Digital, the indie roguelike and management blend Cult of the Lamb does what others in its genre falter in. It provides an experience that sees gameplay outside of your runs as being just as integral to the experience as the combat itself. Beginning with your character's slaughter and swift summoning back to life as you make a deal with an imprisoned elder god, Cult of the Lamb quite crazily blends cuteness with a surrounding narrative of darkness. Asking that you build a dedicated cult while also attempting to murder 4 heretic bishops who oppose your leader, there's a lot to unpack in the story, all of which is committed by a small lamb who only recently was murdered to preserve the old faith and is mentioned to be the last of his kind. Such a tale may seem grim, but the game wraps up its themes with visuals that make it almost feel inviting, while the storyline plays out with a rich lore that you'll want to see through to the end of. Taking on 2 completely different gameplay aspects, Cult of the Lamb in one half is a roguelike dungeon crawler, battling through different sections of a map that always concludes in a mini-boss or one of the game's main bosses. With 4 different areas before the game's conclusion, ranging from forests to under the sea, there are plenty of different mob types, attacks, and scenic views to take in as you go. Not only are you greeted by these locations to fight though, you're also met with an array of other areas, such as a tarot card reader, areas to gather materials such as stone or wood, sacrifices you can interrupt to recruit new followers to your cult, which we'll get there in a bit. As well as this, there are shops and a few other mysterious creatures too. All of this feels deeply fleshed out, allowing you to change weapons mid-run, get different perks through tarot cards, loot some extra goodies, and a whole lot more. Combat itself varies from weapon to weapon, with some slower but more damaging, or some quicker with less impactful hits. More unique secondary abilities use Fervor to charge with a maximum amount of uses until refilled, with Fervor being gathered by killing enemies and looting chests. These abilities all give completely different experiences, from attacking tentacles, ice spikes, concussion blasts, and more. Offering a very fluid combat experience, Cult of the Lamb really makes fighting feel pleasurable and unique to each run, and with a dodge roll there's a lot of fun to be had in playing around with those attacks and getting good at preserving your health regardless on which difficulty you play on. Your journey through these differing areas will have you uncovering more of the game's nuanced storyline, with Leshy, Heket, Kalamar and Shimura all telling their own part in the shackling away of Narinda, otherwise known as your leader, the One Who Waits. The story, though told mostly through text, feels greatly impactful and well developed, leading you to be constantly intrigued to learn more of the leaders, why Narinda became chained away, and at what cost succeeding or failing your mission will have. Of course, if all that fighting and boss battling sounds quite tiresome, you might be surprised to hear that Cult of the Lamb in its other half incorporates management and semi-life sim elements in a sweet little home base amidst the forest. As you set up your cult, you become responsible for keeping your followers alive, all while Cult of the Lamb asks that you also take on these roguelike aspects. The game can initially seem intense, but you're more than equipped for it. This side of Cult of the Lamb is truly what makes this gameplay stand out as something not just different from other titles, but incredibly well established too, leaving progression feeling interesting with such a vast array of things to do and keep on top of without it ever really feeling too overwhelming. Within your cult building experience, you'll find yourself in charge of many different objectives. The basics are keeping your cult at top form, from recruiting new members to feeding them, putting them to work, aiding them when they're unwell, completing their various missions, and a whole lot more. Much of your progression with your cult interlinks with creating new buildings too, such as housing, medical bays, prisons, and more, keeping the cult in check while also maintaining their devotion towards you. You mustn't also forget, as you are running a cult after all, the daily sermons are an absolute must to keep your worship level high and avoid any kind of messy rebellions, as well as enacting different doctrines and completing rituals from sacrifice to marriage. There's rather a lot to balance in the Cult of the Lamb, but it doesn't feel all too complex to keep on top of, so long as you make time between runs to check in with your followers before they're led astray. Perhaps one of the most notable aspects of Cult of the Lamb is its art style though, which is impressive given how diverse its gameplay is alone. Boasting a cute and colourful world blending both cartoony and hand-drawn styles, the environment is brimming with a variety of areas that all look absolutely gorgeous and nowhere near as dark as you would expect for a game surrounding such morbid themes. Outside of its differing areas that include a mushroom forest and a seaside dock are your sweet character designs, from your doe-eyed lamb to the variety of smiling followers. They all encompass the same cutesy look that leaves you feeling as though you could do no evil, even when sacrificing a follower to a creature from another dimension. The music, created by Riverboy, is equally fitting, somehow perfectly cultist while easygoing and upbeat, all featuring the different followers' animal-like voices. It's rather strange to describe, so perhaps give yourself a listen to the soundtrack. We guarantee it's worth a listen just as much as the game is worth playing. As for critiques of the title, we had few and far between. Our main gripe, though the game does recommend playing with a controller, was simply that some of the tutorial menus initially were completely uninteractable, and plugging in a controller was the only way to move past them on PC. This issue seemed to go away later into the game, but initially made it unplayable. Aside from what is likely an unfixed bug, we had nothing bad to say about the title whatsoever. Its gameplay worked perfectly in cohesion with one another, and progressing through it was nothing but a pleasure. Though cult management at times may feel overwhelming, things like hunger and worship took a significant amount of time to decrease, which allows for time in between runs for quick sermons and meals should you not wish to do anymore. With a major upcoming DLC update, Relics of the Old Faith, Cult of the Lamb looks to add further depth and replayability with new endgame progression, new challenge runs, and new combat mechanics such as the already teased heavy attacks. Other highly requested features that will allow you to manage your cult more effectively and aesthetically are due to be added too, from shared housing to a crypt for dead cult members and more. There's a lot of new content to unpack and enjoy. This update sees Cult of the Lamb only growing in longevity, and clear support for the title almost a year after its initial release continues to show exciting promise for what more could come. Overall, Cult of the Lamb is a roguelike alike no other, interweaving a truly engaging story, one-of-a-kind gameplay mechanics, strangely fitting cute but at times dark artwork, and a soundtrack that when all paired together makes it completely addictive. If you're a fan of roguelikes or management simulators, we'd highly encourage you to give it a playthrough, and toe the line between genres for yourself for an experience you will not regret embarking on. Cult of the Lamb is available to play on Steam, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation, and Xbox, and it's purchasable in the link in the description. Existential was kindly provided with a Steam code for this review. Thank you for watching. Our talented team of writers, photographers, and content creators appreciate your support. So please be sure to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who just needs that extra push to check this game out. Also, if you're interested in gaining an expanding list of benefits, then join our wonderful patrons on Patreon by following the link in the description. Thank you for watching, and until next time, we've been Existential.